Hey there guys, so I want to thank you for taking the time to check out today's video. And of course, I do really appreciate you guys again for really, again, just the support in my videos. I'm very thankful for. I've gotten a lot of comments and so many different thoughts and encouragement. And even a lot of people have found the videos to be such a relief or a sense of belonging, and I really am happy to hear that. That's why I share these things. And I think the reason why it resonates with me is because a lot of times in my journey I always felt lonely and lost and felt like there was no outlet to express what I was going through. And that's the reason why I'm doing these videos and why I'm being personal and candid. I don't want my content to just be, completely geared around my fitness content. Yes, my fitness content is there for a reason to help people at the same time. Because, like I've said, I think our health, our mental health, our belonging, our overall thoughts about how we feel about ourselves matters. Everything connects and it matters. All of physical, mental, all connects together. And so that's why, again, why I like to be real and authentic, while at the same time sharing, valuable information to help, like when it relates to fitness, nutrition, recovery, and things of that nature. So, again, guys, I really do appreciate all of the encouragement. I'm very thankful for it. I'm really, each week I get excited to share these videos because I always, I don't want these videos to be about me in particular. I want it to be about you having an outlet, having somebody there to listen to you or to really understand where you're coming from. Again, guys, I apologize. My voice is, I'm still kind of recovering. I'm better than I was last week, but I'm still kind of recovering. But, anyways, again, I do really appreciate that. So, what am I going to be talking about today? So, I'm going to be talking. So, basically, each week I always have something that runs through my mind. And it seems like this has been the big thing that I've felt that has to be discussed in a lot of ways. And I know I've discussed a little bit about age, um, and sort of this concept of ageism, but I wanted to expand upon that. And not only that, there's another thing that I wanted to share alongside this that I think is very important. And I think it's something to talk about. And that has to do with the masculinity and femininity and how we emphasize so much of masculinity a lot of times when it comes to being gay men. But the other thing I want to mention is this concept of ageism at the same time. So, one of the things that I notice a lot of times, and I sort of touched on this in a stream that I did, is that I notice that I mean, this is pretty common, but we always emphasize a lot of youth when it comes to gay men in particular. And so it's like, it seems like I've mentioned about the gay death, it's like it ends at 30. That's like, so you have 20 to 30 of your adult life is supposed to be all that you have as a gay man. That's 10 years. That's nothing. But that's not the reality. We know that's not the reality. But one thing that I think is, it bothers me, it's always bothered me how we sort of discount, older individuals. And I've never been comfortable with that. I've always just felt that that's not right. For me, I've always had a sense of caring for individuals who are older. I don't know. I guess in a sense, there's a part of me that's somewhat of an old soul, and I have a sort of heart for people who are ahead of me, who came before me. And like I said, I think that's important. That's like why I mentioned, why history and things like that are sort of an important part or have been a part of my interests is because I think it's important to learn from those who are ahead of you, from those who got you to this point. And I think too, when you look at where we're at as far as the LGBTQ community and the gay community, we wouldn't get to where we are if it wasn't for the individuals who are before us. And so that's a lot of the reasons why I think it's important to, again, recognize everybody. And I think everybody has a worth no matter what age they are at. I think we just get so hung up on like worrying about our age that it becomes such an issue, and it's like we want to go back to our youth, but we're in another chapter in our life. We're in another phase in our life. And we have to see it as something new rather than trying to go back to better days, quote unquote, because we can still make better days ahead. It doesn't have to end. We can, no matter at what age we're at, we can still evolve into somebody better. And again, I think it's important to continue to find ourselves. And this is kind of a topic that I discussed when I did a blog post recently. And I went over why fitness isn't just about returning to being 21 or to being younger. It's more about becoming the best version of yourself where you're at now, becoming a newer version of yourself here in the present. And I think we get so hung up on going back when really we should stay in the moment and think of ways, how can I improve the person that I'm at now? And like I said, it's sad because a lot of times, again, in the gay community, we emphasize so much of this youth culture. And I've noticed that, there's a lot of older men that do feel kind of neglected in a lot of ways, and they feel that they don't have a sense of belonging. And I've kind of seen that in comments that some individuals have shared in some of my videos where I talked about, aging as a gay man. And we have to, again, change our perspective. And we have to, and I think the younger generation should do the same as well. They should be more considerate and understanding of older individuals, because they would not be able to have, like when we talk about LGBTQ rights, they would not have that without the generation beforehand. And I know it's natural, like every generation is going to make fun of each other. We just do that. Like, we make fun of boomers, we make fun of Gen Z, we make fun of millennials. We always do that. It's just naturally going to be that way. I don't know why that's a thing, but we make fun of each other. But the thing is I think we still need to be there for each other, no matter what generation we're in, no matter what. We're all human beings, and we should all be there and work together to, create a better sense of belonging. So that's one part I wanted to discuss. But, excuse me, I don't want this, excuse me again, I don't want this video to be primarily just about age, because there's another mention, or another thing that I wanted to mention in particular that has come up. And this is another thing that bothers me so much, that I don't understand it. I don't get it. So I come across, and I had a Snapchat video where I shared this, but it's went away now, so it's probably relevant to discuss it again. But I had a Instagram, a set of Instagram, accounts or profiles that I come across, and I've seen these guys. So they're supposedly straight acting guys, and I'm not going to mention the actual accounts. I'm just, going to go over it because I don't want anybody to try to go after these accounts or profiles. But there's these guys that are on Instagram that are supposedly quote unquote straight acting, and but they're gay guys, and so they do, like, I guess you would say, life coaching or fitness coaching kind of in the same way I do. But what I've seen is that they primarily gear their coaching towards men who are gay but are straight acting. And also, they don't recognize, or they don't label, they don't use all the labels, they don't support the whole LGBTQ labeling. And I get, in a sense, why people don't like labels. I use labels because I feel like it's more clear on who I am. I feel like if you just I just like to use labels, and that's just how I use it. If you don't like to use labels, that's totally fine. But the thing that bothers me is they say they don't want to use labels and they don't want to be involved with the whole community itself, but they only want to tailor their coaching and their content towards straight acting gay men. And this is where the other part of what I wanted to talk about comes into play. So we just talked about age, and I think age is a huge problem in the gay community. But I think another problem is this whole really clash between masculinity and femininity, and that men cannot act feminine, that I don't understand this. And this is one thing that I mentioned, with my coaching, is that even though I do gear a lot of my coaching towards gay men or LGBTQ men in particular, I do not exclude anybody can join my coaching. I do have a market that I primarily gear my content to, or my overall audience, but I don't exclude anybody. Like, anybody's welcome, but the reason why, again, like I emphasize gay men, is because I think we're excluded a lot of times in the fitness sort of sphere, and this hyper masculine sphere where it's hard to be able to find a belonging. And so I think, again, this is another concept where I think we're trying to create this hyper masculine, like, bro dude culture for gay men, and I don't understand it should not matter how you act. It's okay to act masculine if you're gay men. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it does not make sense to exclude other men who may act more feminine. And this is something, like, I'd made a comment too on one of the posts of one of these guys, and he basically, the way that he shared the content is he shared it in a way to where I wish, more guys were more into nature and not into, going out or being feminine. See, there's this whole different side of things. And it's like they want guys to be completely masculine and they can't have any feminine attributes. That's basically the same thing as, like, straight culture. Like, it's creating this same, expectation of being masculine. And that's why I made a comment. I said in my comment, I said the big thing that I struggled with coming out of the closet and being myself was to be able to accept both the masculine and feminine side of myself. And I mentioned that in some older videos too, that I've always felt I've had this combination of both the masculine and feminine traits. And so I always felt that I couldn't express both sides, and I think and being myself, I think, comes with expressing both sides of my personality. I think they both interconnect. They're both a part of me. And so I think a lot of men are like that if they're gay men. It's okay if you act masculine. If you're a more masculine guy as a gay man, that's nothing wrong with that. But I don't think it's right to just exclude another man for being more feminine. I don't understand that concept. I don't get that. And again, it goes back to the same concept of aging or ageism, where it's like we emphasize youth, we emphasize being masculine. Like, just be yourself. Why do we have to try to create these boxes? And that's what's funny, is that the people who don't want labels are instantly creating these labels unintentionally, So, and like I said, how we define ourselves should be our own way. We should define ourselves our own way. But I think as a community, I think we should embrace every aspect, where that should be our main focus. And I just think I just don't think it's right to just exclude somebody because of the way they act. I don't understand that. And like I said, I've always had this combination of masculine and feminine. I think a lot of gay guys have that. I think being gay is that combination. I think you naturally have that combination. And I think expressing that is totally fine. And I think too, our age should not be an issue. I think we should be able to understand each other. And I think we should be able to be willing to, have a friend group that maybe have older men, or, embracing every aspect of our community is kind of what I'm trying to get across with this discussion. But again, guys, that's all I want to discuss today. I hope that I didn't talk in circles, but I feel like these two things connect when we're talking about ageism and masculinity and this whole expectation of what we're supposed to be. And so, and that's why I discuss these things, because I don't want you to feel alone. I know that there are other guys who really, have these same sense of just being without a home, or like without a sense of belonging, and that's why I share these things, and that's why I think it's important to discuss these things, so that that I understand. Because, like I've said, I've always felt like somebody who's an underdog. I've always felt like I was just outside, or like the black sheep. I've always felt that way throughout my entire life. And I just want you to know that I know what that feeling is like. I know how that how it feels to be an outsider, in other words. But thank you guys once again. I really enjoy these discussions. I will have another video, of course, within the next week. And if there's anything you would like me to discuss further when it comes to LGBTQ topics, or finding that sense of belonging, feel free to let me know. But thank you guys once again. I will, of course, share some new videos with you, new discussions, and I'm really thankful for the comments you guys have shared. And I try to reply when I can. I have so many things that I do, but I try to get back to you guys when I can. But thank you so much for your support. Thank you for the comments. And again, just feel free to share any of your thoughts that you have on anything I've discussed. So I'll see you guys in the next one.